Boy exposes fiancée's dark secret at dad's wedding. Shocking twist leads to 911 call. Hello, and welcome to today's story. It's a tale of courage, deception, and the unbreakable bond between father and son. Sometimes, the truth is hidden behind a mask of love and trust. But when a young child steps forward to reveal what others cannot see, everything changes. This is the story of 8-year-old Jake, who, on what should have been the happiest day of his father's life, uncovered a dangerous secret that would turn their world upside down. Jake wasn't just a little boy at a wedding, he was the hero of this story. His courage saved his father from a life-threatening trap, but it also tested their relationship in ways neither of them could have expected. So, let's dive into Jake's journey, a story of bravery, a father's trust, and the hard lesson of always listening to those you love. The sun shone brightly through the stained glass windows of the small church, casting colorful rays onto the crowd gathered for the wedding. It should have been the happiest day of my dad's life. But for me, it was the day I felt more alone than ever. My name is Jake, and I'm 8 years old. I was standing at the front of the church, holding the ring pillow, as the guests waited anxiously for my dad's bride to walk down the aisle. My dad, Robert, was waiting by the altar, smiling nervously. I had never seen him so happy. But as I looked at his face, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I had tried to tell him about Monica, his fiancée, but he wouldn't listen. Monica was beautiful, yes, but there was something cold about her that made me feel uneasy. I tried to ignore it, but the feeling only grew stronger as the days went by. I glanced at Monica as she stepped into the church, her white gown glowing under the lights. She looked perfect. Her blonde hair was curled just like a princess in a fairy tale, and her smile was warm and inviting. But as she walked down the aisle toward my dad, something in her eyes told me she wasn't the person I thought she was. I knew I wasn't just nervous because of the wedding. Something deep inside told me I had to do something, but I didn't know what. I squeezed the pillow tightly in my hands, trying to calm my shaking nerves. My dad noticed me fidgeting and winked at me from the altar. "You're doing great, buddy," he whispered with a grin. But my heart was pounding in my chest. Monica was about to marry my dad, but I was afraid she wasn't who she claimed to be. I wanted to believe everything would be okay, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to lose my dad to someone who didn't care about him or about me. As Monica reached the altar and stood next to my dad, I glanced at the guests, and I noticed a few of them were whispering. Maybe they felt it too. But no one was saying anything. The officiant began speaking, but I couldn't hear him. All I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. Then, a thought struck me. What if something bad happened? What if Monica wasn't just a bad stepmom? What if she had a plan to hurt Dad? I had to stop this wedding. But how could I make anyone believe me? I stood frozen as Monica smiled at my dad, and he whispered, "You look beautiful, Monica." I felt like I was in a nightmare. The world seemed to spin around me, but I didn't have the courage to speak. Yet, deep down, I knew I had to. I couldn't let my dad marry her. Not like this. The ceremony continued, but my mind was racing. I tried to focus on what was happening around me, but all I could think about was what Monica had done to me over the past few months. She wasn't like the other women who had come in and out of my dad's life. At first, she seemed sweet, like she actually cared about me. She smiled and played along when Dad asked her to help me with my school projects. But when he wasn't around, that was when the real Monica showed up. I remembered the first time she came over to our house. Dad was so excited. almost bouncing out of his seat as he introduced her. "Jake, this is Monica. She's someone very special," he said. I didn't know what to think. I'd never seen my dad so happy since Mom passed away 2 years ago. I guess I wanted to believe that maybe Monica could be the person to fill the empty space Mom had left behind. But it didn't take long for the cracks to start showing. I'll never forget the time Monica was supposed to watch me while Dad was working late. I was sitting at the table, trying to talk to her about school. "Do you like science?" I asked, hoping to find some common ground. Her response was sharp and dismissive. "I'm busy, Jake. Eat your dinner and be quiet," she snapped, barely glancing up from her phone. I shrank back in my chair, staring at my food, unsure of what to do. It felt like I was invisible to her, like I didn't matter. But when Dad was around, it was different. Monica would smile at me, laugh at my jokes, and even pretend to care about my schoolwork. "You're such a smart kid, Jake," she'd say, her voice sweet, but I could see through it. I could see that it was all just an act. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that maybe she could be my stepmom, that maybe she could love me like Dad did. But every time she looked at me with that fake smile, I felt more and more alone. Then there was the incident a few months ago. I had been watching TV in the living room when Monica came in, demanding that I turn it off. "It's too loud," she said. "I'm trying to work." I apologized and reached for the remote. But in my hurry, I knocked over my juice onto the coffee table. "I'm sorry," I cried, rushing to grab some napkins. But before I could do anything, Monica was there. She grabbed my arm and yanked me away from the mess, her fingers digging into my skin. "Look what you've done," she hissed, her face twisted in anger. "You clumsy, careless boy. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're causing me?" I winced in pain, tears welling in my eyes. "I didn't mean to," I whispered, my voice shaking. Monica's grip loosened, but her words cut deeper. "You'd better clean this up. And if you tell your father about this, you'll regret it. Understand?" I nodded, barely able to breathe as she stormed off. That night, when Dad came home, she greeted him with a kiss, her voice all sweetness. "How was your day, Robert?" she asked, completely ignoring me. I couldn't believe it. Why was she treating me like this? What had I done wrong? Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Monica began making more cruel comments when Dad wasn't around. One evening, when I proudly showed her a good grade on my math test, she didn't congratulate me. Instead, she just sighed. "That's nice, but you know there's always room for improvement," she said coldly. I couldn't take it anymore. I was starting to feel like I was invisible, like I didn't belong in my own home. But Dad was so happy with her. He was planning the wedding, making all these big decisions. And every time he looked at Monica, he saw someone who made him happy. He didn't see how she treated me when he wasn't there. He didn't see the real Monica. As the wedding day drew closer, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let my dad marry someone who didn't care about me, who might even hurt him. One night, about 2 weeks before the wedding, I overheard Monica talking on the phone. I was trying to fall asleep, but the voices drifted into my room. I knew I shouldn't be listening, but something told me that this time, I had to hear what she was saying. "Everything has to be perfect," she was saying, her voice tight with frustration. "Once we're married, we'll be set for life. I've got the insurance policy. And once Robert is gone, we'll get the payout. We can finally get out of here and start fresh." I froze. My stomach turned. She was talking about Dad. She was planning to kill him. I couldn't believe it, but I knew in that moment that I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to stop this wedding. I had to save my dad. The days after I overheard Monica's phone call were a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had heard. She and that guy, Mark, were planning to kill my dad. I didn't understand everything, how they were going to do it, or why, but I knew it wasn't something I could ignore. They were after money, and my dad was the target. I spent the next few days watching Monica closely. Every time she spoke to my dad, she acted like the perfect fiancée. Sweet and loving. But when he wasn't around, I saw the real her. I watched her on the phone, constantly texting someone under the name M, and every time Dad walked into the room, she'd quickly lock her screen, plastering a fake smile on her face. One afternoon, I saw her sneak out of the house again, just like she had been doing for weeks. She had started making excuses. Oh, I'm just meeting the wedding planner. Or, I have to go finalize some details for the ceremony. But I knew better. She was up to something. Every time she left, I felt like something was about to happen. Something terrible. That evening, as I was cleaning up the kitchen, I overheard another conversation. This time, I was sure of what they were planning. Monica was talking to Mark again. Once we're married, it'll be so easy. A tragic accident, and Robert's gone. We'll collect the insurance money, and then we're free. I felt my stomach twist. I couldn't let this happen. I had to stop the wedding, but I didn't know how. I was just a kid. What if no one believed me? What if I said something and everyone thought I was just jealous or making things up? But I knew one thing for sure: if I didn't act now, my dad might not make it out of this wedding alive. I had to tell him, but I had no idea how to make him listen. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. What if Monica really did kill my dad? What if no one believed me? I couldn't just let it happen. I had to stop it. When I heard my dad getting ready the next morning, I made up my mind. I had to tell him everything, even if it meant making him angry, even if it meant ruining the wedding, if it meant saving him. Then I had to do it. I walked into his study, where he was getting dressed in his tuxedo. He looked up and smiled when he saw me. "Hey, champ, you ready for today?" I felt my heart pounding in my chest. But I couldn't back down now. "Dad, I need to talk to you. It's about Monica," I said, my voice shaking. He raised an eyebrow. "What about Monica? She's going to be your stepmom." "Buddy, everything's going to be fine." "No, Dad," I said, my voice growing more desperate. "She's not who you think she is. She's been planning something bad. I overheard her talking on the phone with someone named Mark. They're planning to kill you. Dad, it's all about the insurance money." I saw the confusion in my dad's eyes, and I knew he didn't believe me. "Jake, you've been acting nervous about the wedding. I know this is a big change for you, but you have to give Monica a chance. She cares about you, she loves me, and she's trying her best to be a good stepmom." But I couldn't stop now. "No, Dad, you don't understand," I pleaded. I overheard her. I saw the insurance policy on her computer. "She's been talking about how she's going to kill you after the wedding. And she's been treating me badly for months. She's not who you think she is. You have to believe me." My dad took a deep breath, running a hand through his hair. "Jake, I know this is hard. But Monica is the woman I love. She wants to be a part of our family. And you need to give her a chance. I don't think she's capable of what you're saying." My heart sank. I knew he wasn't going to believe me. It felt like I was losing him. But I couldn't give up. I couldn't let my dad marry someone who would hurt him. I had to find a way to make him see the truth. even if it meant exposing Monica in front of everyone. The day of the wedding arrived, and the church was buzzing with excitement. The air was thick with the smell of flowers and the soft murmur of guests, all gathered to witness what should have been the happiest day of my dad's life. But as I stood at the altar, holding the ring pillow in my hands, I felt nothing but dread. The knot in my stomach tightened with every passing minute. Monica was about to marry my dad, and I couldn't let it happen. I had tried to tell him, but he didn't believe me. What if no one believed me? What if I was wrong? But in my heart, I knew I wasn't wrong. I knew what I had overheard. Monica was dangerous, and I couldn't let her go through with this wedding. I glanced at my dad, standing tall and proud in his tuxedo, a smile on his face that I had rarely seen before. His eyes were locked on Monica, who was walking down the aisle in her white dress, looking every bit the part of a bride. She was beautiful, elegant, perfect, but that smile, that coldness in her eyes, sent a shiver down my spine. I had seen it before. The way she could turn from sweet to sinister when Dad wasn't around. I had heard her plans. She didn't love him, she just wanted his money. I couldn't let this happen. I couldn't let her hurt him. As Monica reached the altar, the officiant began speaking, his words a blur in my mind. My eyes were locked on my dad, but my heart was pounding. My hands shook as I clutched the pillow. This was it. I had to say something. The officiant paused, as tradition demanded, and asked, if anyone can show just cause why this couple should not be married, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. This was my chance. This was the moment. My voice was trembling as I stood up, the words barely leaving my lips. Wait, don't marry her, I cried. The entire church fell silent. All eyes turned toward me. I felt like I was going to pass out. But I couldn't stop now. I had to save my dad. Dad turned to me, confusion in his eyes. Jake, what's wrong? What's going on? Dad, you can't marry her, I shouted, my voice shaking with fear and desperation. She's lying to you. She's planning something bad. She's going to hurt you. Dad. Monica's face twisted with shock. Then anger. Jake, what are you talking about? She asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Sweetie, I know this is a big change for you, but you can't ruin everything like this. You don't understand what's happening here. No, you're the one who doesn't understand. I yelled, tears filling my eyes. I overheard you. Monica, you and Mark were talking about killing Dad for the insurance money. I saw the policy on your computer, and I found pictures of you with him. You're not who you say you are. You've been lying to Dad this whole time. He can't marry you. Please, Dad, you have to believe me. The gasps from the crowd echoed through the church. Dad's face went pale as he stared at me, his mouth opening and closing in disbelief. Jake, are you sure about this? He asked, his voice shaking. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I'm sure, Dad. Please, believe me. Monica's smile faltered for just a second, but then she recovered, her eyes flashing with something dark and cold. This is ridiculous, she spat. Jake is just a confused little boy who can't handle his father moving on. Don't listen to him, Robert. You know I would never do anything like that. Dad shook his head, still trying to process what I was saying. Jake, these are very serious accusations. Where did you hear such things? I overheard you, Monica, I cried. I heard you talking on the phone with Mark. You said you were going to kill Dad after the wedding. You said it was all about the insurance money. Please, you have to believe me. Monica's face went pale, her composure slipping for the first time. That's not true. You're just a child who doesn't know what he's talking about. This is all just a misunderstanding." Her voice grew louder, desperate. "Robert, you can't believe him. He's just upset about the wedding." But it was too late. The damage was done. Dad was looking at her, his expression filled with hurt and confusion. The crowd murmured in disbelief as the truth sank in. "Monica," Dad said, his voice trembling, "is this true? Are you really planning to hurt me?" Monica's eyes darted around the room, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of fear. But she quickly covered it up, her eyes narrowing with anger. "You can't be serious, Robert. You're going to believe a child over me? Over everything we've been through together?" Dad took a step back, his face filled with a mix of pain and disbelief. "No, I can't believe this." He turned to the guests, his voice cracking. "This wedding is over." The church erupted into chaos. People stood up in shock, some whispering, some calling out. Monica, her face twisted with fury, turned on her heels and bolted down the aisle, her white dress trailing behind her like a ghost. "Stop her!" someone shouted. But Monica was too quick. She pushed past the guests and burst through the church doors, disappearing into the bright sunlight outside. Dad's hands were shaking as he pulled out his phone. "I need to call the police," he said, his voice trembling. "Monica was planning to kill me. She ran. You need to find her." I stood frozen, my heart still racing, but I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had saved my dad. I had stopped the wedding. But the relief was quickly replaced by fear. What if Monica came back? What if she hurt us? As the police arrived and took our statements, I looked up at Dad, his face pale but his eyes filled with gratitude. He pulled me into a tight hug, and I felt safe for the first time in months. "I'm so sorry, Jake," he whispered. "I should have listened to you sooner. You saved my life today." We stood there, father and son, united in the chaos of the wedding day that had turned into something much darker. But we had each other, and that was enough. What an incredible story of courage and truth. Thanks to Jake's bravery, his father was saved from an unimaginable fate, and the dangerous secrets of his fiancée were exposed in time. It's a powerful reminder that even in the most challenging situations, the love and trust between family can change everything. Jake's actions not only saved his father's life but also proved that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest truth. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more thrilling, heart-pounding tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to get updated with the latest, most exciting stories we have to offer, all for free. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to sharing many more incredible stories with you soon. Stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, truth always finds a way to come out. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We're just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.